If you don't get support, though, how will you get to the court if you don't get...
Exactly. If it doesn't get a 3-2 vote, then...
And then with unions, you
or
know,
4-1 or 5-0.
threatening, you know, how would you overcome that, or, you know?
If we don't get 3 votes, then in the discussion, and someone else may pick it up, I'm not sure.
Royalty was Steve.
Why doesn't it affect the more recent pension spike retroactive? Is it because it was partially funded by OCEA? Or
Specifically, that is correct.
even though there is a portion that is
Yeah, yes, because we think that it's, I mean, they're actually paying for the retroactive portion. And so as a consequence, that retroactive portion, which is fully paid for by the OCDA folks, pretty well takes them out of the debt limitation issue, probably out of the other arenas as well, because if they're paying it themselves, it isn't government giving it to them.
Yeah, but the unfunded liability part is certainly not them paying it, right?
That may be true, but at this point we wanted to focus on the very clear, very clean issue of 100% funding by the county of the AOCDS contract.
Okay.
Yeah. Wouldn't you say it's accurate that if the Board of Supervisors didn't choose to litigate this, that it's pretty much inevitable that whether it's the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association or the Pacific Legal Foundation, it's going to go to court now? Because, I mean, this is a pretty compelling case to those groups.
On July 3rd, the Pacific Legal Foundation was successful with a local group here in Fullerton. And the appellate court said that Governor Davis tried this at first, and then it was tried by Governor Schwarzenegger, and that is they wanted to do a pension obligation note multi-year to underwrite and fund a one-year contribution to the pension plan. And the appellate court said that's unconstitutional. They decided, the governor decided not to take it to the Supreme Court because they knew they lost. Now, knowing what we know, if the Pacific Legal Foundation knows the same thing and we don't do something as a supervisor or board, then we could pretty much almost assume that they will, and then if they prevail, then they'll get legal fees and maybe a multiplier, and that will cost the taxpayers even more.
Well, plus you have a public relations issue. This is the board kind of solving a problem that quote-unquote they created as opposed to some outside group. But
correct.
My only other thing that I would say is someone who worked, Sheriff's Department for a long time, so a lot of the, we're talking about kind of numbers, but to me it's a lot of actual people, because I know a lot of people that are retired and are living off of this pension system. So my only suggestion to you would be that you hone down pretty quick on who this affected group of people is and get something out to those people so they understand what's going on, if for no other reason than because you may have somebody who may have a house they can't afford now, but you may have somebody who's getting ready to make an offer on a house that they won't be able to afford if this happens. And so it seems to me the sooner that they at least have a heads up that this is going on, and frankly having it come from you guys as opposed to having it come from a union seems like a more appropriate approach.
I believe you're correct, and it's one step at a time, John. The other side, the
Yeah,
flip
but
side,
I mean, it's not
is
one
that
step at a
this
time.
was-
This is all going to be in the newspaper tomorrow,
Well,
which means there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of concern.
I think it's already in the paper, John.
Well, we are going to notify them, and we're going to put our side of it out, and it can be done very quickly. They all have emails, and we can do that fairly quickly.
And we'll work with the Orange County Employment Retirement System to get notification out. But John is someone who has been at the Sheriff's Department. You know that the back door, the exit door, has been swinging, and we're losing some wonderful people at a very early age. And now we have a vacancy factor that's rather high because the front door isn't bringing them in fast enough to take care of what's happening in the back door.
Well, one effect of this may be some knocking on the back door.
Well,
you may have some people saying, I need to come back to work.
yeah, that could be, but the issue is, one of the selling points for doing the retroactive portion was for recruitment purposes. Well, this was not a recruitment technique. This was a way to give something to current employees, not to new employees, because there's no retroactive component to someone who's new. So we may then free up some money where we can maybe provide a higher beginning salary to help the front door. We could certainly do something to help with the retiree medical component that AOCDS is not showing much movement on. So we might be able to do some things that might make working for the county for new hires much more attractive.